I think a lot of Americans and a lot of Delawareans keep hearing that the key to the economic turnaround is jobs, jobs, jobs. I think we're all tired of hearing about it. What's actually being done nationally and here in Delaware to create some of these jobs?
Well, I mentioned a couple of things. One of the things in terms of infrastructure in this country is decaying. Last year, the nation's engineers, one of the associations, said they looked at our transportation infrastructure and said, D, as in not as in delightful, D is in deteriorating, and that's the job that's their rating they've assigned us. Part of their problem is airports. So one of the things we've done is to figure out how to replenish the Airport Transportation Trust Fund to have the money that we need to modernize airports, including one here in the state down in Sussex County. But I said earlier at the top of the show, you'll recall, I said businesses, especially large businesses, need certainty. And we have companies that are making a bundle of money, big companies, they're making a bundle of money. They're not spending it, at least they're not spending it here. They may be spending in some other countries. A lot of places, they're actually sitting on money overseas from their overseas operations. They're not repatriating and bringing the money back here. The Deficit Commission, the Deficit Commission led by Erskine Bowles and Alan Simpson, provided in a tax code a way to help encourage companies that are very successful, sitting on a pile of cash, a lot of it overseas, to repatriate that money and bring it back here and invest it here. The businesses, one of the things, I knew this long before I was governor, but I really learned the lesson as governor. Companies like predictability and certainty. They don't like to have, if you're being asked to roll the dice and make a huge investment, you want to have a pretty good idea what the outcome is going to be. Your board of directors wants that, your shareholders want that. And right now, whether it's, are we going to ever start reducing budget deficits? What's going to happen to our credit rating? How will that affect interest rates in this country? What's going to happen to healthcare legislation? Is it going to be constitutional, unconstitutional? If companies do this, will they be cut off if the Supreme Court decides to go another way on healthcare reform? We have a tax code that is kind of in place for another year and a half, another 18 months, and then all the Bush tax cuts go away. What's going to happen with capital gains? So there's just huge uncertainty. And for businesses to begin doing something with that money, their cash, instead of sitting on it, they need certainty, they need predictability. And we have this special super committee of 12 people that's going to be appointed in the days to come, next several days. And my hope is that Republican and Democratic leaders in the House and Senate will, what's Mark Twain's old line about, tell the truth, you will astound your friends and do something to your enemies. But it's pretty good line. But if we could somehow put people, if our leaders will put people on this committee that are, one, know the nature of the problem, understand fully the nature of the problem, are willing to make tough decisions, are willing to put everything on the table, entitlements, in revenues, defense, non-defense spending, willing to focus on how do we actually get better results for less money. How do we get better results for less money? To put those kinds of people on this committee and say, by the way, we had two commissions that worked much of last year. They figured out how to get this done. Let's look at their ideas. If we have those kind of people on the commission, we can still get somewhere. If we don't, then we're in trouble.
Well, you seem very optimistic, which we appreciate.
Well, what is it Albert Einstein used to say? In adversity lies opportunity. That's what he used to say, in adversity lies opportunity.
E equals MC squared. He said that too.
I don't know what that means, but...
The Mark Twain line was, tell the truth, you'll confound your enemies and amaze your friends. Yes, I think that was his line. It's pretty good.
I want to switch topics here. Let's talk about 9/11's coming up in about a month. And, where do you think America is now? I mean, it's 10 years. And have we recovered? I don't know if that's even the right word.
Well, the folks, the families, including those in Delaware who lost loved ones, will never be quite the same. And there's a great Bruce Springsteen CD that you've probably heard time and again called The Rising. And it's just a whole CD of songs that are really a tribute to the families and the people who lost their like beautiful CD, very moving. But every time I listen to it, and probably for other people too, especially those who lost their loved ones, it's a hard loss to sustain. We have gone in here in Delaware this past week. We've seen the returns of the remains of some 30 or so Americans, 22, I think, SEALs. And our delegation was there, and a lot of folks were in Dover to receive the remains and to be there to comfort the families who lost, their fathers, their brothers, their husbands, and so forth. And it's almost like a bookend, if you will, the loss of life. 3,000 or so in 9/11, and about 30 in this instance. But the two sort of remind me of each other. They both involve Afghanistan. The story in Afghanistan is it's called the death place, the burial ground of the empires. That's what it's been called for 100 years or more. The Brits used to be there. They held sway for a number of years. They finally got chased out and left. When they left, they created a vacuum. Who filled it? The Soviets. Soviets got in. We worked with actually the Taliban and to help fuel insurgencies that came out of Pakistan. Finally chased the Soviets out. Soviets left, created a vacuum. Who filled the vacuum? Well, the Taliban. Al-Qaeda provided refuge from Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda launched 9/11 10 years ago. We came in, chased out Taliban, chased out Al-Qaeda out of Afghanistan, and then we got distracted over in Iraq with Saddam Hussein, took our eye off the ball, created a vacuum. Who came in to fill it again? Well, the Taliban. And now we've gone in again, working with a whole bunch of other NATO allies. We've got about 150,000 troops all told over there, and we're trying to make sure that when we pull out at the end of 2014, that we leave behind a country that can feed itself, defend itself, govern itself. And there's a bit of nation building going on. But I don't want us to leave and then create another vacuum. I want to make sure that when we leave this time that we'll not see Al-Qaeda and the remnants of that other terrorist organizations come in. The real problem with Afghanistan is the country right next door to it, and that's Pakistan. Pakistan has 75 nuclear warheads or so. There are a lot of terrorist groups in that country that would like to get their hands on those warheads. We think Al-Qaeda created mischief operating out of Afghanistan 10 years ago. To let the terrorist groups get a hold of nuclear warheads, loose nukes or whatever, we really would know what trouble would be. So we want to make sure that's prevented.
How is our relationship with Pakistan? It's been rocky for a couple of months.
It's uneasy. You have a government that's not. Jeffersonian democracy, we're not very good at Jeffersonian democracy here after 200 years, but they really are struggling over there. You have a country that has civilian leadership that's very weak. You have military leadership. In some cases, folks, I think, are in bed with the terrorists. And it's a cause for real concern. We should continue to try to work with the positive elements of people who want the best thing for their country, but it is a tough slog.
All right, I need a 15-second answer on this next question. Have you, as busy as you've been, have you had any time to think about whether or not you're going to run again for Senate? That's coming up next year.
Yes, I'm running. I'll say that for 15 seconds. Yes, I'm running.
That's your official announcement?
We're going to go for it.
All right. Senator Tom Carper, we appreciate the time that you have spent with us today on First. We will talk again down the road.